turning into people.
Oh my God!
And and I think, bearing that in mind, I think you should just stay on air and just go, just fully commit to it.
I think that's a terrible idea.
No, just hear me out.
I'm listening.
Right? So obviously you're live now.
Yeah.
Right? So that's fine.
Here we
so
are.
you can just be delightfully delirious and, and start inventing jingles. Brilliant.
Was no above.
I love it.
Thanks.
It's like the ghost of Whitney Houston.
Isn't it?
Just entered the room for a second.
We all felt touched.
And
Early
then,
Whitney Houston or later Whitney Houston?
Well, when she was dead.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
obviously.
that's the best time to be a ghost.
But but listen, you say what you're about to say. We did a marathon radio show for 52 hours non-stop.
Yeah.
And I did go a little bit doolally towards the end, proper.
But you were mentally prepared for that because you went, I'm doing this.
Well, as
and
much as it can be.
Was it for a charity event?
Yeah, it was for Comic Relief.
Nah, but you see, then part of your brain is going, I have to hold this together because this is for charity. Whereas if you just like literally shut down the studio, press record, and then see what happens, goes Lord of the Flies.
But
It's very Lord of the
it
Flies.
could be one of those experiences where, when you're having a few drinks with a mate and then you're telling funny stories and you're both killing yourself laughing and you're coming up with the funniest ideas in the world.
Yeah.
I did this with a mate once and I went, we got to record this because this is funny stuff. This is funny. So we did. And then I spoke to my mate the next day and I went, did you listen back to the tape? And he goes, I'm not going to let you listen to it. And I went, why? He goes, it's so not funny. And it's just you and me laughing at things that aren't funny because we're just both leathered.
Yeah, but do you not think that would be funny for people listening? Because you'd go through it, wouldn't you?
Well, I don't
You'd go
know.
through to the point where you go, oh, they don't even realise they've lost their minds. So I've often thought, like with the Big Brother house, where they went wrong there was like, what they should have done is they should have just turned off all the cameras and then just not put it on telly. And then most people would have come out and then just like realised that the whole thing was a sham.
Do you remember Johnny Vaughan hosted a show
Channel 5, I think it was.
where they sent some people into space?
Space Cadets.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I remember it well. It was
What
a
a
great
brilliant
show.
idea.
Now,
Yeah.
the idea of this show, no one talks about this show anymore. Right? It was a one-off. And we should be reminded of this on a weekly basis. It was the cruelest TV show I've ever seen.
Yeah.
They basically picked some people and they sent them to space training, and they genuinely put them in a spaceship and sent them to space, and they were in space for maybe a couple of days or something.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Go on.
There's a slight element that you've missed out there.
Well, I'm getting to it.
Okay, all right. Sorry, I just thought because you're so delirious.
Yeah.
Good to be cautious.
Yeah, go on.
And then the reveal was that I can't remember if they landed or they were still in space, but there was a bit where basically the side of the spacecraft opened and they were in a TV studio and they weren't in space at all.
Yeah.
And it was like, ta-da! Thanks for watching. Bye. And that was it.
Yeah, it was.
I
was
wonder
a
what
great
happened to
idea.
them. I wonder what happened to those people.
Well, let's rewind slightly. The reason those people were picked, do you remember the start of the... I remember everything about this team. Not that I do nothing but watch telly. Capcom Crimst. That's what they kept saying. Do you remember that? That's what they kept saying. Anyway, they did it in Ipswich. Was it Ipswich? Where
Yes, it was. You're right. It was.
It was
in the
an
middle
old Russian, old military base
Right.
that they put Russian signs up.
But they
and
thought
stuff.
they were in Russia. Then they put them in a plane and basically just flew
them
round and
around.
round for about 4 hours.
But they hadn't thought it through, though, had they? Because the production team said, you're not allowed to look out the window because you could clearly see, like, Canary Wharf. And they were just like, no, because it's a special type of... But they picked the people... They took them into the... They give them a questionnaire. And on the air, it was such a telly thing, they went, people who are suggestible, which is TV speak for idiot. Basically, they went, we took 10 idiots. But do you remember as well, they had to sit at the back of... This is good. It's not enough. I don't come on enough radio shows and plug television programmes I had nothing to do with and happened 15 years ago.
Yep.
But do you remember they had to sit them... They had to sit at the back of the spaceship because the projection of space, you could see the studio floor. So they made them sit behind a net. And none of these people went, why is there a net?
And also, there was no zero gravity either, was there?
Right, yeah.
And I can't remember, but they had to come up with a rouge why they weren't floating in space.
Yeah.
I think they said that they were only going into the lower atmosphere. And because they'd picked, idiots, they went, oh, yeah, that's right, because the gravity... Yeah, the gravity's just a bit thin. That's what it was. But there's not enough of that. And I think now times have changed. I think that now with sort of TV, researchers and producers and stuff worrying about people, there isn't the same level of,
Well, there's a duty of care.
That's
now.
the word I'm looking for.
The duty of care.
And, it was different times. It was different. Have you ever seen the clip of? Have you ever seen the clip of Noel Edmonds firing the cars with John Peel firing these members of the public jumping the cars? It's the greatest clip ever, right?
So what's going on?
So basically, it's a Santa Pod Raceway, right?
Yeah.
And Noel Edmonds is there, and he goes, right, let's go over to now again John Peel on a Noel Edmonds show, and he said, you'll have to find this. It's the greatest bit of telly ever. He says, right, next contest, and so John Peel's there, goes, right, he's coming down now. He's approaching the ramp, and he's hit that at quite a speed, hasn't he?
Oh, God, I do remember this.
And this thing flies through the air, and this car, it just lands, and it's like smashes everywhere, and there's tires flying off, and there's little people holding up their kids, and there's tires flying, and you just go, oh my God, literally.
Yeah.
And it cuts back, and Edmonds is like, right, well, we'll be back to John Peel later, and it cuts back to him later, and he goes, I just to inform you that the fella that had that massive crash, he is fine. He got his knees hurt. And he just said he got his knees hurt. Watching this online, it's different times, fun times.
Let's have a show where you just pick out the best bits of worst British television,
absolutely.
and you just laugh at it.
Yeah.
You must have seen the Anthea Turner clip.
Well, the hair on fire?
Yeah.
Of course I have. I watch it on a constant loop all the time. Yeah. With
Bobby Davro with the stocks.
I was
Bobby
literally
Davro.
saying Bobby. It was coming.
Oh, Bobby!
Oh no, Bobby!
Oh, that's awful.
I was literally saying Bobby Davro. That was the next. You go Anthea Turner straight to the Bobby Davro.
How painful would that be? Smacked right.
So
in
the
your
Bobby
face.
Davro clip is a TV show, and they put him in the stocks. Yeah. But what happens is
It's about magic tricks.
he starts to fall forward,
He's an illusionist.
and you see what's going to happen. And because his hands in his stocks, he can't stop himself, and he literally goes bang, face first into the floor.
Yeah.
And Keith Chegwin runs over to him, and all you hear is, "Oh, Bobby!" And I think Lionel Blair is there as well.
Of course he is.
Yeah,
Of
he's
course
there.
he
He's
is.
everywhere, isn't he?
Anyway,
My
none
fa-
of this is why you're here.
No, it doesn't matter.
Well,
Doesn't matter. I'm doing a stand-up tour. Come and see me. It's next year. We'll get out of the way. Let's get back to terrible telly.
All right.
Have you ever seen the one I found recently, which I was absolutely loving? Actually, on an Edmonds-based one, right? Because I've become a bit obsessed with Noel Edmonds.
Yeah.
Have you
met him?
Have I met him? No, I don't think I have. No.
He's a nice guy.
I bet he,
I
what?
like him.
I bet he is, but he has got some of them. Mr. Vandenboes, have you ever seen that one?
No.
I'm talking to you, Mr. Vandenboes. He did a thing called Noel's HQ, right?
Right.
Which was basically, it was like Watchdog crossed with House
Yeah,
Party.
on Sky.
Yeah, and he didn't. Well, nobody did. And he basically, there's a planning officer refused to allow this bungalow to be built for this war veteran, and Noel got very angry about it, and he just shouts, but the guy is called Mr. Vandenboes, and he repeats his name over and over again. He goes, and I'm saying, now you listen to me, Mr. Vandenboes, Mr. Vandenboes. It is
We'll find
extraordinary.
it. We'll find
Honestly.
that clip.
Find it.
It's a yeah.
People are now texting in about bad TV shows and bad TV show ideas.
Can I quickly just say, if you're on an Edmonds, if you go down an Edmonds hole,
Yeah.
right, there was an episode of there's a TV show in itself.
Edmonds Hole.
Through the Edmonds hole.
I'm all right. I'll do Space Cadets instead.
There's a brilliant one where he Paul McCartney had which was he had a video. What was the I can't remember. With Michael Jackson, where he had the
song.
the
Say,
one.
say.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And the video wasn't ready in time, and so Top of the Pops, the song was already going down the charts, so Top of the Pops wouldn't play the video.
Right.
And McCartney got really angry about this and said he'd never appear on the BBC ever again. so they went, well, what if we won't let you on Top of the Pops with the video, but we'll Noel Edmonds can interview you. And it is the most beautifully awkward, because McCartney just comes on, just starts talking, and Edmonds, who is completely terrified and completely overtaken by the thing, it's a beauty. Listen, if you're working today, turn round. If you're on your commute, turn round, go home, make yourself a nice cup of tea. Well, you can tweet the links out for all these.
Yeah, we'll put it out there.
So go on, people have they're sending their own.
No, people have just texted in Naked Jungle.
Naked
People
Jungle.
have texted in Sam Fox and Mick Fleetwood at the Brits. People are talking about.
These are all top 10, though. These are all.
Yeah.
These are the sort of things that you would get on like you'd get on one of those compilations of.
Yeah.
I'm talking about pure commitment. Where I've spent hours going through. Click to click to click to find these.
Well, I had. There was without giving too much away, the BBC had this site, a website, like a hidden website that was an archive,
Lovely,
of stuff. So you could watch all these old BBC shows. But what they had was the studio tapes from certain shows. So you would get Noel's house party, but you'd have like the audience warm up before it went live, and then you'd have a little bit at the end where they come out and say thanks to the audience.
Lovely.
And what used to tickle me, and because I remember hearing this and thought it was made up, but the warm up man for Noel's house party was Felix Bowness, who was the jockey in Heidi High.
Was that him?
He was a legendary warm up man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that just
that.
tickles me to this day.
Yeah.
Was he the jockey in High? I think he was, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
because when I started doing warm ups, but like sort of mid-90s, you'd turn up, and if it was like a real sort of proper, old school showbiz show, and they think, we'll try one of these alternative comedians, always have the crew just going, we're funny, but Felix Bowness.
Oh, would they say that?
That's what you'd get.
What shows did you do warm up on?
I did one of your shows.
Did you?
What?
We were going to talk about this last time I was here, and then we forgot.
Which one? The quiz night shows? Was it?
No.
What?
Look at your face.
Ooh.
My very last warm up that I ever did was on a show that you presented.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you remember what it was
Oh,
called?
Now there's
Because I didn't do many.
you must remember. It's I'll give you a clue. It was
Tube.
yeah.
What's it?
Millennium Tube.
Yeah?
2000.
Wow.
That was my very last warm up. That was a hell of a show.
Do you know? I was talking to somebody about this the other day. It was a 3-hour live show on Sky. It was a remake of The Tube.
Was that on Sky?
Yeah, and then they edited it down to like 2 hours and put it on Channel 4.
All right. Okay.
And it was the most bizarre. I talked about this. Did I talk about this on the air? the
Yeah,
other
we
day?
did. Yeah.
It
about
was
a month
me
ago, I
and
think.
Donna Air
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
hosting. So, not even a Jules Holland inside, or, obviously Paula couldn't do it. And I think I said this the other day. There's a pub next door to the studio, and they went, right,
The Egypt Cottage.
what we're going to do is Donna Air's going to interview McCartney, and you're going to be the other side of the pub interviewing Robbie. And I'm going to cut between the two, right? Like that. So you'll start off with Robbie, and halfway through like an answer, I'm just going to cut to Donna interviewing Macca, right? And it'll be amazing. I've never seen this done before on telly. There might be a reason for it. It might be crap, but we're going to give it a go. And they bottled it at the last second. And he goes, do you know what? Scrap that. You're interviewing McCartney. And I went, I'm not prepared to interview McCartney. I've got a load of Robbie Williams take that questions. It'll be fine. Off you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you talk about interviewing McCartney. I'd never want to watch that back.
I mean, the best
That was
bit.
awful.
I mean, the best.
You were
bit-
good.
Thanks. At least the audience were up for
They
it.
were very
beforehand.
good.
You know the story about what happened with Prince on that show, in the corridor. Do you know about this?
Oh.
You know?
Go on.
Do you remember how? So he had this show was mental. My favourite thing was when Donna Air. I remember this vividly, and this will be on the tape somewhere. She went. Listed all the things. Now, if you've got Kid Rock on a show, you mention him first. You don't put him top of the bill, right? And nobody told Donna about this. So she went, you've got Prince, you've got Paul McCartney, you've got like all these people. And she went, and coming up, we've got Kid Rock. And everyone went, Paul McCartney, we've got Prince, and we've got Kid Rock. And everyone went, yeah. But, Prince turned up, and he insisted on being called the artist.
Right.
Nobody else was allowed to wear purple. No one was allowed to look him in the eye.
I remember being told
and it
no
was-
one's allowed to look him in the eye.
Really?
Yeah. And I think what it was he didn't want people just like, I think he just didn't want to sign loads of autographs. You know, it was before selfies.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it was the day before the cameras and that. But so they cleared the studio, and they had like this sort of, from his car. He had to come sort of through the studio, and everyone was cleared. Nobody was to hassle him, and it was this big, and it was like pages and pages of demands. And they're sort of saying, you have to follow this or he will literally walk. And so as he's coming through the studio, what they had done is they'd cleared the audience, but then there was a door, there was a toilet door, and one of the audience had gone to the toilet. So he's got like 4 bodyguards in front of him, 4 bodyguards behind him, you know, sort of 20 foot in front as a sort of rolling kind of roadblock to the artist. And of course, it was perfectly timed. As he went past the door opened, and this fella walked out, just this little Geordie lad, and he was face to face with the artist. And this fella, and I can't say the actual word.
Sure.
Let's say the word rather than the word for illegitimate child.
Right.
Let's say cheeky chappy. Right.
Right.
So he's going to say that, and he walks out like that, and he goes, "Oh, all right, Prince, you little purple chicky chappy." And this guy had no idea. He hadn't been
You've got
given
the
the
memo.
big list of things. And he hadn't seen the security guards. So this guy, he's just gone, "Oh, I've just met Prince," and it's just grabbed, and he was ejected out of the building. "What are you doing? I was only chatting to Prince, like." It was glorious.
Oh, that's lovely.
So 2 very quick stories on the back of that. So my mate of mine ended up on a night out with Prince once.
Right.
And he got sat next to him, and he said, nice to meet you, by the way. I'm so-and-so, and I'm a mate of Roger, and who knows the guy in the band. Oh, yeah. And he goes, I don't know what to I don't know what to call you. Do I call you? I know you don't go by Prince anymore, and then you were a symbol, but I don't actually know what to call you when I'm talking to you. And he just looked at me and went, "Yeah, nobody does. Funny, isn't it?" And you just go, "Oh my," because I remember at the time going, "You can't look a Prince in the eye. You have to call him sir if you do end up speaking to him," and all of this. And I remember thinking, what a douchebag. And then hearing that story afterwards, go, he's just having a laugh for years. He was just literally winding everybody up. But he'd done Top of the Pops the night before, or the 2 nights before or something, and they were recording Top of the Pops, and apparently he took ages and ages and ages and ages, and everybody else on the bill had to wait, including Robbie Williams, who was also at our show on Tube.
Yeah.
And I heard, and I've got to get this clarified, so if this is a lie, I'll say I apologise now. The story I heard was that Robbie got a load of T-shirts printed up with the artist formerly known as Soul on.
Right.
And brought them to the Tube. And I saw 2 of Prince's security guys, right? And one of them was just stood there at a door. Another one appeared next to him. And I just caught this with my own eyes. And one nudges the other one. And he goes, "What's that?" And he had one of the T-shirts. And he held it up and showed it to him. And the other security guy was, "That's about right."
Really? Oh, what?
What a night.
Yeah. I love the idea of Robbie Williams making up them T-shirts himself. Just getting so angry, coming back from Top of the Pops,
Well, yeah.
and just going, "Get me Letraset." Not having that.
I must find out if that about that story, but I'm sure that was the case. It was all Robbie.
But you know, it's fun times. It was an incredible show, and
It was like Travis was on, Matt Lucas was on it,
yeah,
McCartney, the Mighty Boost were on it.
yeah.
It was ridiculous. It was huge and live for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what was going on.
No,
In a good
Yeah.
way.
it did
like
have
this.
that element of the Tube in the fact
Yeah.
that it was a bit car crashy.
It's like chaotic.
Anyway, oh, by the way, Ross is going on tour.
Yeah, come and
yeah.
see
Yeah.
me. It's on my website. You get the idea. All of that.
He was on tour through April and May all around the UK.
That's the one.
And you should go, if you've got 5 hours to kill,
Yeah.
go and see Ross,
Yeah.
because he'll do 4 hours of just ad lib, and then he'll go, right, the act, here we go.
And then afterwards, come to stage door, and I'll tell you about the greatest telly you've never seen.
There you go.
Yeah.
And if you see him, go, Oh, here, Ross Noble, you cheeky little scamp.
That's the one.
Purple.
You little purple scamp.
If people want to go and see you, what's the best thing to do? Go to your website?
My website, rossnoble.com.
rossnoble.com. I've sobered up by talking to you. It's been good.
That's good.
Oh, I should rent myself out. It's like,
You should.
yeah. It's like, like one of them sort of, Alcoholics Anonymous. I'll just turn up, do 20 minutes.
Or you should do the pubcast with us next year, perhaps.
Well, hang on, you don't want to be sobering up while you're getting drunk.
Yes.
Do you drink?
I don't know.
No, well, you'd be no good for it.
Teetotal, but I'll tell you what, I love a pub snack.
Do you?
Oh God, I'll do a pint of pork scratchings. I don't
Do
care.
we have any left?
Yeah.
Do we have a full one?
Yeah. Do you want me to go and get it?
Oh, you're
We'll
gonna
give it
love
to you afterwards.
Yeah.
Would you like a pork scratchings advent calendar?
Yes, please.
It's yours.
Oh
Just
my
come early,
God,
Ross.
that's.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to open it until December the 1st.
I certainly won't, because what better way to celebrate the birth of our Lord Jesus than eating hairy pigskin? It's what I think of when I think of our Lord
Now-
and Saviour.
That I am getting made into a T-shirt. In fact, I'll get Robbie to make it. And next time you're in, that'll be your gift. Lovely to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for
Brilliant.
coming in.
Thanks, Ross.
We talked about nothing but randomness, but the very funny Ross Noble will be on tour, so go to rossnoble.com, get tickets, and have a good night out. Nice to see you, man. Thank you
See
very
ya.
much. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ross Noble.
Yay.
The Chris Moyles Show.
You can trust something.